Things start off the way that way too many superhero movies end, with a skybeam energy bolt. Stay with me now. Then things get hot and heavy with a car chase straight out of Fast and Furious. Hang in there. Someone's got some serious contraband if they're risking a high-speed joyride to cross a bridge. Hear me out. Wouldn't you know it, someone else brings in the canine unit. Rover's caught the scent of street value smack and is in hot pursuit to get his fix. You know he means business when he goes all in on stealth. Fido gets fanatical and the dumb dog crashes headfirst into Ecto 1, which itself crashes into a cornfield. The car chase turns foot race as Familiar Face has a stash of hash that he's gotta make delivery on. His supply guy won't wait forever. Fortunately, Drug Runner's got a farmhouse as a safe house that he's booby-trapped in case of Chicano or banditos trying to get his supply. When Rex is sicked on him, the trap backfires. This doggo's one tough hombre. Breaking Bad drops a supply of pharmaceuticals when no one will think to find it. No peeking. All of a sudden,
darkness falls across the land.
Whatever it is that he's trafficking in looks like it wants to take a hit of him.
I got papers, blunts, bongs, all the ingredients to make a high nigga pie.
Hey, yo, can I help you?
What was in them special brownies? Bad dog. And with that, a spirit crosses over. Speaking of segues, now might be a good time to check in with our sponsors. If you're a frequent customer of Samsung the way that I am, you purchase everything from your TV and 4K players, from tablets and cell phones from the trusted brand. If you're already using Jabra headsets as your preferred audio tech provider, like I plan to very soon, then you know they provide a whole host of listening electronics ranging from workout earbuds, Bluetooth music headsets, and office hearing devices. If you use the link in the description for either Samsung or Jabra purchases, it'll help the channel out tremendously. With the promotional considerations accounted for, it's on with the show. Now then, the movie begins proper with Egon's obvious granddaughter Phoebe doing some tinkering. The glasses are a dead giveaway. The family patriarch's good name has been sullied, regarded now as an abandoner, and with an eviction notice on the family's house, it's plain to see why. Apparently, Grandpa's bought the farm in more ways than one because that's where the family's headed. Upon arrival at the Sticks, the family takes a tour of this Texas Chainsaw Massacre house, and a chance encounter of an earthquake leads to the discovery of the Ghost Finder. After all that excitement, who should come strolling in but the next-door neighbor, Janine, to tell the new kids on the block they inherited debt. Awfully neighborly of you. If I can just ask, how is it that this character never took off as the hot geek that women cosplay as, yet Daphne from Scooby-Doo did? Not that I'm complaining, mind you. When the family takes a trip into town, the Richie Tozer from It Chapter 1 feels some stranger things in his pants when he sees the waitress at the burger joint. Back at home, Phoebe tips a chessboard over. Incidentally or accidentally?
Wonders, Lisa, or blunders?
On the hunt for internet service, Richie Tozer comes across fan service in the form of a tarped-over Ecto 1. The suspense is killing me. Just unveil it already. And then the light goes out. What a tease. The next morning, it seems paranormal activity is afoot when the chessboard predictably makes a move.
Implied, Lisa, or implode?
Mom, make him stop.
We interrupt this focused, non-terminal repeating phantasm for a trip to class. Hey kids, what better professor could you ask to teach summer school than a Marvel Avenger? My sentiments exactly. And who's on the call? You show some respect, you son of a bitch. It's Ant-Man, okay? Ant-Man is going to be teaching summer school. Damn it. Now I'm all flustered. I could use some Ecto Cooler. Should have gotten them as a sponsor. So, you've got one weird kid narrating a mystery in front of another weird kid. They call this kid with the Boom Mic Podcast. What did I say in 2021 about podcasters and horror media? Chucky series, Dexter New Blood, Halloween H4O, Godzilla vs. Kong, Resident Evil Welcome to Raccoon City. Now you're actually naming people after their character role.
I'm the protagonist.
Paranormal Activity makes way for seismic activity with another earthquake. Phoebe's mom discovers Ant-Man has taken up seismology, and the two share some awkwardly amusing banter. While that budding romance blossoms, Richie Tozer is trying his darndest to impress the girl from the burger joint who's basically this movie's MJ from Spider-Man. Except with a pulse. Phoebe and Podcast, I'm not calling him that, Phoebe and Spike Lee share more uneasy dialogue of their own, and he now assumes the role of conspiracy theorist for the film. The kids take a trip to the mines when Spike Lee wants to show her proof of the supernatural, and is it me or are they underdressed? I don't know. You should always look your best, especially at a mine.
That's what I'm talking about!
After a familiar gargoyle dog hieroglyph is found in the mines, the Ecto one is finally uncovered by Richie. At home, Phoebe notices the chessboard again moving on its own when the ghost finder goes off and bulbs light the way for her to follow. This gingerbread trail leads all the way to the living room chair Egon smoked his crack was last seen. Careful with that chair, you don't know who's been sitting in it.
My house!
Phoebe thinks to shift around the floorboards and finds the ghost trap. Careful with how you Tetris that puzzle, you might contact the wrong spirits.
Oh, no tears, please. It's a waste of good suffering.
While the kids do required reading by watching Chucky at school, Ant-Man recognizes the ghost trap. On the subject of reading material, the kids reacquaint themselves with the Ghostbusters via the public library, otherwise known as YouTube. Teacher joins his students in their little science project to hotwire the ghost trap, and the Hellhound escapes for their trouble. Well done. If that's not bad enough, it heads straight for the temple. Ant-Man gives the kids a lift home where Spike Lee discovers an Aztec death whistle in Phoebe's house and just can't help himself. So he unleashes this hellish sound of this ghost pipe.
Alan.
As punishment for their shenanigans, the kids are forced to endure more awkward flirting between Ant-Man and Phoebe's mom. Oh, the horror. Spike Lee's prying eyes land on something of a dark Bible that speaks of mysterious guardians over the land of the dead. A certain gatekeeper and keymaster? The teenagers at the burger joint opt for a meetup place out of town, away from the grown-ups, and, of all places, unwittingly head straight towards the temple. MJ takes Richie Tozer to literally hang out on an elevator suspended above a shaft when they hear a rumbling that forms a voice from beneath that erupts upwards.
Disturbs my slumber.
Phoebe uses the ghost finder to scope out the generators outside when she finds a pole inside the shed leading to an underground lab, and she hit the jackpot. Ghostbuster uniforms, her grandfather's glasses, and then the money shot, the proton pack, with a little help from her guiding light. Funny that Mom reveals that she's got a hot date with Ant-Man because the kids have a meetup of their own, namely target practice. Spike Lee commemorates the moment with narration for his podcast when suddenly the sound from the nearby factory spooks the kids. As startled as the children look searching out for the unknown in an abandoned factory, in moments like this it's best to remember.
The only thing to fear is fear himself.
While the remnants of the ectoplasm on damaged steel leaves the kids clueless, it clues in the longtime fans to what's coming next. They find a Twitter activist taking time out of their professional victimhood to devour metal piping, and Spike Lee remembers that the movie had earlier set up that Mayan headstone harmonica. The payoff is, it doesn't work. Luckily, they've got a dangerously radioactive device that discharges unstable energy beams. It seems they need more practice once their target gets away, though. Well, with that letdown out of the way, no time like the present to take Ecto 1 out for a spin. Ain't it the way? Richie Tozer's enjoying his joyride, and instead of tracking down his intended streetwalkers, finds a couple of hitchhikers, his sister and Spike Lee. As a thanks for the lift, the kids start poking around in the Ecto 1 and manage to find an RC ghost trap. Not a second too soon either, as the police radio puts out an APB on some kind of animal munching on property in town. I guess that's what we're calling the new Slimer. The kids track him down and accidentally trigger the car's gunner seat. While being pursued, Muncher returns fire by shooting its mouth off. What did I say? Twitter activist. Operating the toy car ghost trap, firing the proton pack, driving Ecto 1, it's all good fun. As excited as they are to have caught themselves a ghost, the mood killer sets in when the trio realize the chase led them all the way out of town and right up to the temple. Speaking of buzzkills, after the afternoon's excitement, they get pulled over by the fuzz. Looking for the car's registration in the glove box, all they find is a Twinkie.
I understood that reference.
They end up in the big house when Richie recounts his encounter at the temple with the teens. Phoebe demands the telephone to make her one plea from prison. When she's asked, who are you gonna call?
I understood that reference.
Remembering the YouTube video, she uses her one phone call to reach out to Ray Stans. As saddened to hear the news of his friend Egon's passing, Ray in turn is put in the unenviable position of recounting the decline and falling out of the Ghostbusters to his friend's granddaughter. Seems both family and friend share the same sentiment towards Egon, as a deserter and a disappointment. The adults arrive to bail the kids out of the slammer, and Phoebe pulls a proton pack out on the sheriff for mocking her grandfather, which I gotta admit was pretty boss. As much as her mother tries to discipline her, all Phoebe can think of is sticking up for Granddad. Unfortunately, they've got bigger problems than property damage from radioactive weapons, driving without a license, and particle accelerator book bags in police lockup. The Temple Hellhound just woke up. He'll need someone to take him out for his walk. Ant-Man pays a visit to Gualmar when the Stay Puft Marshmallow Men appear for purely pandering product placement purposes. And I hate this movie for making me say all that. The Gizmos go full gremlins and begin murdering, burning, and eviscerating each other. Clean up on aisle 12. Ant-Man acknowledges, this is a whole lot of not my damn problem, and veering right the hell away from this crime scene in progress, comes face to face with the last surprise he would have wanted. The gargoyle dog awoken from its sleep. The next morning, the kiddies literally map out what's going on, tie it back to the events in New York, and endeavor to head back to the mine. So, if Ant-Man is one gargoyle, the mom naturally will be the other. Examining the temple leads to the discovery of a preserved body. Ivo Shandor, the priest from the first film. Suddenly, the sounds of that familiar growling come from a pit. Whatever that something is trying to escape triggers a proton trap that sends it right back down where it came from. Gotta be honest, a temple as a quarantine zone and proton packs as a death trap is awesome. Just as Phoebe realizes that her grandfather didn't run away, but tried to protect the world from another attack, her mom comes to a discovery all her own. Not only does she find her father's underground lair, but also pictures of her as a child that he kept. Unfortunately, she's got company on this memory lane trip, an unwanted visitor from her father's past in the form of the other Hellhound. She's found by her family abducted on the torn-apart chair. Because the kids left the temple, it's left unprotected, and possessed Ant-Man disrupts the trap. Evil rises, the earth quakes, and shadow blankets the town. It looks like our old friend is back. You know the one.
The midnight hour is close at hand. Creatures crawl in search of blood to terrorize y'all's neighborhood. And whosoever shall be found without the soul for getting down must stand and face the hounds of hell and rot inside a corpse's shell.
These Ghostbusters gear up, which can only mean one thing. Cowabunga, kids. It's morphin' time. We get an exposition dump of what's going on, what Egon was up to, and what's gotta get her done. While Gatekeeper gets busy with Keymaster, the kids pick up the Ecto-1 and manage to release Muncher to chew through the bars so they can retrieve the proton packs. Back at the now fully restored temple, the guard dogs take their place and Gozer takes center stage. Gozer makes a split decision with Evo Shandor, which just left me wondering, why bother? Before the presence of such a figure, these new Ghostbusters use the best weapon they have at their disposal. Awkward humor. That'll do. It was just a diversion, though, as the ghost trap set exercises the hellhound from Mom, so it's time for a quick getaway. Meanwhile, back at the ranch, Gozer's ghost arrives. Marshmallow Men reappear to wreak havoc on the equipment. See? I told you. Gremlins. They get into everything. With Gozer's ghost returning to full form, just as the Indian food hits the fan, the real Ghostbusters arrive in the nick of time. Phoebe stands off with Gozer in something that is nothing short of epic, especially when she got a helping hand from a familiar face. A field of traps finally blooms in time for spring and sends the baddies packing. With the day one, generations can now reconcile. Ray even gets invited to Spike Lee's podcast, and good old Grandpa has an emotional farewell with both brothers and bloodline, with friends and family. While a beloved friend is given his send-off, Ecto-1 makes a return home. Ghostbusters Afterlife is a showcase of the white glove treatment nostalgia deserves instead of the past money grubbing or modern day finger wagging. This film's got all the familiar sounds, from the classic music to, of course, the audible startup of the proton pack. I have to admit, this device is undeniably an iconic piece of pop culture tech like the pulse rifle from Aliens and lightsaber of Star Wars. Standout visuals include the underground lab and the mix of practical and CGI with the Hellhound. When Phoebe discovers the Ghostbuster equipment and gets a helping hand from the dearly departed, it works perfectly as a double-edged sword. It reestablishes a little girl's connection with her grandfather and serves as gingerbread cookies to reacquaint the fans with the mythos and their connection to these films. As much as I wish that this film would have added its own nuances to help it stand out more and on its own, it is a sincere show of nostalgia without trying to exploit it. However, one criticism that even this movie's most avid fans must acknowledge is that the one thing it was missing, it could have used more Leslie Jones.
The power of pain compels you! Ow!
They surprisingly do precious little with the standout performer from It Chapter 1. Sorry, movie, I'm afraid I have to deduct. Get him!
Beep, beep, Richie.
I wasn't going to watch this movie, let alone review it, but it was the fan reception that convinced me to give it a shot, and I'm glad I did. This film got right what Scream 5 got so very wrong, with its mishandling of a returning classic. This latest sequel joins an exclusive club of fan apology properties that attempt to make amends and mend fences with the films that have damaged fandom. It serves as a major win and a positive sign for any who wish upon a star for a turning of the tide, for the admirers of genre, for enthusiasts of entertainment, for the fanatics of these films.
Warn your friends. Warn everyone.